Hi, it's Chris McDonald, Head of G-Technic Platinum UK, with a supplier of paint protection products to the premium and luxury sector of the UK automotive industry. Our website, gtechnicplatinum.com, will tell you all about it, but we'll work with most of the major brands from Lamborghini through to Lexus and in between. Our product is obviously global as well. We're in the States, we're across Europe, and now in the Far East. We have a product which is really outperforming the rest of the market from our perspective. And we've backed into the dealer market from the professional sector and not the other way around. We've got products now that are really aimed at the future. We're all going online, we're all going digital, we're all doing click and collect, and we're now finding ways to look at the way in which the automotive industry is moving electric as well, which is going to have impact on servicing and servicing income. And we've got some fairly interesting ways of attacking that. So have a look at the website. Thank you for having a look at this video. Not my normal place, but and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Hi, I'm Carl Davis, MD at Coachworks, and this presentation is entitled Jam Today, 5 Habits for Sustainably Higher After-Sales Performance. Now, there's some stuff going on at the moment that's out of our control. So I'd like to make this presentation focused upon the things that we can control and leave the experts, the governments, the medical physicians to deal with the things that are outside of our control. I'm going to remind you of 5 habits that you're well aware of, but there's a big difference between knowing and doing. Consider this a how-to session to make things happen and become reality. And talking of reality, let's remind ourselves there's only 3 ways of making more money in business: to sell more, volume; sell for more, margin; or spend less, cut costs. Now, I think you would agree right now we've probably nailed the last one. So it's about margin and volume. We can't save ourselves out of this position. That's not the future. In the next 20 minutes, I'm going to share with you 5 habits, or ingredients if you like, that are proven to make a difference, that will give you jam today and help you sustain that jam for longer. Now, we're talking about selling stuff. So if I may, can I, with the danger of patronizing you, I don't want to do that, but can I go right back to basics and share with you what I think is the most effective definition of selling? A buying process brought about to the customer, beginning with the discovery of needs. And isn't that interesting that I said the definition of selling, but I've immediately flipped it into buying. And I've signposted the definition, in that definition, the discovery of needs. Because at the end of the day, we should only be trying to supply stuff that customers need or would benefit from. And to understand that, we need to understand the customer. So can I give you the habit forming tip number 1? And that's about begin with the end in mind. Now that seems so obvious, but so often from our experience, the people that we expect to do the selling don't really understand what the end looks like. They may not know the target figure, or specifically, they may not actually understand what it is they're being asked to achieve. So let's share the numbers, and I would definitely say, let's identify the value of every single opportunity. And by that, I mean, if typically a service booking equals 100 and whatever pounds, let's share that. So when that opportunity comes our way, through that platform, from that contact center, and that phone rings or that email pings, colleagues know what they're actually playing for. So share the numbers. The second thing when it comes to beginning with the end in mind is let's actually visualize a great customer experience. And we're more likely to get that in after sales if that booking, that job card has been preconditioned. Now I'm telling you what you already know, but there's a difference between knowing and doing. And definitely the further out we go with that precondition of the job card, ideally to about 72 hours, the more time we have to react, to plan, to prepare. So if we've visualized the value, if we prepared by preconditioning the job card, the next thing we need to do, obviously, is pre-call the customer. Let's just double check that the customer's expectations of that visit is the same as ours. That gives us a further opportunity to not only prepare ourselves, but prepare the customer with regards to what we need from him or her. And that might be driving license, it might be lock and wheel nut key, whatever. The final thing, when it comes to beginning with the end in mind, is let's be fanatical about the EVHC and the video. Those two systems are the biggest way forward when it comes to success. And we have to really, really understand those numbers. So begin with the end in mind. That's habit number one. Now, I'm going to share with you, just to really reinforce that point, this formula. Lead equals lag. And so often the reports that I see in our client businesses are lag reports. What's happened, the final numbers. When what we really need to do is measure those lead figures, particularly around the EVHC use and the video production. So let's begin with the end in mind. A great success and a big reward for our efforts, because at the end of the day, it's not about working harder. We can't ask our colleagues to work any harder than they're working now. It's about working smarter. So that's habit number one, begin with the end in mind. Habit number two, build rapport. If we just look back to that definition, beginning with the discovery of needs, at the end of the day, we need to get to know the customer. And that isn't so easy in after sales, maybe as it is in car sales, where typically there's longer available. And particularly if we're asking colleagues in a contact center, let alone busy colleagues on the front line, to actually take a moment. But they do need to just slow down for a moment. And let's remember, when it comes to building rapport, it's the customer first, then the car, in that order. And sometimes DMS systems don't help us because they request car data straight away. But let's just pause for a moment. Let's introduce ourselves and let's ask for the customer's name. And then let's use that name. Now, if we're really going to get to know the customer, and I'm offering you tips to help you coach your people, of course, and I'm not saying these things are not being done, but there's a difference between knowing and doing, and there's a difference between doing it sometimes and doing it consistently. Let's use open questions to actually get some information. And in getting that information, that gives us something to listen to and gives us an opportunity to spot the personality type. Now, most of your colleagues, particularly those in car sales, will have learnt this stuff, the Myers-Briggs stuff around controller, entertainer, feeler, thinker. If we understand how the customer's made and how they're behaving, we get an opportunity to mirror their performance. And definitely, if we tailor our approach to that individual preference, not just need, the customer is going to respond favorably. So the second tip is build rapport. And I'm going to share this formula with you. HI1P2. Now, this is famous with some of our clients. Human interest first, process second. Let's show some interest in the customer before we start to process that booking or need. So the third habit is about demonstrating expertise. Now, we know that we're the experts. We know that we've got years of experience. We might be expert with that brand that we represent. But at the end of the day, unless the customer can witness and hear and experience that expertise, it's meaningless. So let's try and differentiate our expertise level from maybe the others. And one way of doing that is to be absolutely expert around the function and the benefit of the feature, product, service, whatever we're talking about. Now, that seems pretty elementary, but so often when we're listening to frontline colleagues engage with customers, we hear a load of process And we also hear a load of feature dumping. And it might be that upsell, or it might be that item that's required on the VHC. But rather than just signposting what it is and maybe what it costs, let's be really good at explaining what it does, the function, and the benefit, why the customer would do well to accept that best advice. Now, to do that, we need to give colleagues some word tracks. Really simple, succinct word tracks that they stand a chance of remembering and they feel inclined to use. Now, at the end of the day, if we can get them really practiced at using really succinct word tracks, they're definitely going to sound like they know what they're talking about. So, word tracks, they're succinct, that are used proactively as we signpost some of these needs, opportunities, features, functions, and used to the degree where colleagues become almost unconsciously competent. They can use these word tracks without thinking about it. But en route to that, if those word tracks are prepared in a booklet or typically digitally, they can be there on the screen ahead of making the call, ahead of talking to the customer as an aide-memoire. That's fine. So here's the third formula I'd like to share with you. And it's all about expertise. Knowledge plus communication times repetition equals expertise. We've got to have the knowledge. We've got to be able to communicate that knowledge easily. We've got to do it consistently. And if we do that, we'll definitely sound like experts. And at the end of the day, that expertise is an influence that's trying to help us in business and help our customers. Now, the fourth habit, that's all about adding value. Why am I signposting that, do you think? Well, it might be because your price isn't the lowest price. The price that your business and your colleagues are presenting to customers on the front line probably shouldn't be the lowest price, particularly if you're a franchise retailer, because you've got all the assets and overheads associated with that. But at the end of the day, surely, if we're going to influence the customer positively, we want to make sure that what we're offering equals good value. Now, if we major on your USPs, if we major on the brand's USPs, that's going to help. But at the end of the day, if we first of all sell the value of what we're offering to our colleagues and get them believing that it's great value, that's got to be a good place to start, hasn't it? So, what equals value? Well, there's a whole load of things that equal value. Those factory trained technicians, that original equipment part, that 12-month parts and labour warranty, the complimentary VHC, the video of the VHC, and it's a massive list. Now, I'm not suggesting we ask our colleagues to vomit the whole list on every customer, but I am suggesting we signpost some must-haves that every customer is told about, typically 3 or 4, typically the factory trained technicians, typically the original equipment parts and the VHC, etc. If we signpost the value before the price, before the close, we're going to win more business. It's an essential part of selling at the end of the day, I'm sure you'll agree. So let me share this formula with you, if I may. The way we don't want to do it is price minus benefits, because that will just leave the customer with a cost. No, we want to do it this way. Benefits plus price equals value. Easy. So let me move on to the 5th habit. The 5th habit is asking for the business. At the end of the day, if we're experts in our field, if we've bothered to get to know the customer, if we've signposted the value, and if we're really trying to do the right thing for the customer, We deserve their business for all those reasons. Now let's go back to that formula, or rather that definition of selling again. The definition of selling: a buying process which the salesperson brings about to the customer, beginning with the discovery of needs. It's not for the customer to get onto that platform, onto that telephone, or into that space and actually surrender. It's for us, our colleagues on the front line, to actually signpost some of those products and services that we have available. If we follow the formula for selling, and if we also add to it this bit of best practice, when we're presenting that work, maybe from the VHC, if we say to the customer, we've observed there's some wear and tear on the car, wherever it is, and the consequence of this is increased stopping distances, less road holding if it's tyres, and the proposal is that we could fit those tyres to the car straight away because we have them in stock. If we can have your authorization quickly enough, and the car will still be ready for 3 o'clock. That OCPS, and guess what the S stands for? Once we've asked for their authority to proceed, we should say nothing more. Let's wait for the customer to respond. So, the final thing around asking for the business is we've got to work on our game. And at the end of the day, it's about train to gain, isn't it? We've got to practice and we've got to be pitch perfect. And that brings me on to this final formula. Volume plus technique equals sale. The more we talk about these things and the better we talk about them, the more business we win. I promise you, it's not rocket science. So, I'm suggesting there's plenty of jam available today. It doesn't need to be a promise of tomorrow. And whether it's today, with more of our workshop filled with the internal combustion engine, or whether it's tomorrow, where there'll be an increase in electric vehicles and hybrids, is irrelevant. These 5 habits won't go away. Let's begin with the end in mind, understand the opportunity. Let's build rapport, keep it human. Let's know our stuff, demonstrate expertise. Let's shout about the value, add that value. And let's proactively close, ask for the business. There's a big difference between knowing and doing. We know this stuff. As leaders, it's our job to coach our people, to work with them, and to make sure they become really, really skilled with these 5 habits. It's been my absolute pleasure to share this with you, and there's some slides available as a takeout as a result of this presentation. Here's to a great 2021. Thank you.
Good afternoon and welcome to this Q&A session for the Jam Today presentation at AM Live Virtual 2021. We're joined by Carl Davis from Coachworks Consulting, who you've just enjoyed the presentation with, and also Chris McDonald, head of G-Technic Platinum UK, who are sponsors of this presentation. So we've got a few questions. Have come in from the audience already, and we've got, over the course of the next 10 minutes or so, an opportunity to speak to Carl and allow him to elaborate on some of his points and also get your own views addressed, hopefully. So we'll kick off with a few questions, Carl, and see where it takes us as they start to come in. One person has inquired about the evolution of sort of digital methods of communication, really, and they want to know if after sales will continue to maintain its importance as a key place where customer relationships are strengthened post-sale, or will that influence diminish because of the traction that online interactions have gained in the last 10 months, 2 years?
It's a great question. I think whether it's online or whether it's in person, I think that responsibility should be shared. So what does it look like on a good day when somebody's, let's say, collecting the car when it's been picked up brand new or second hand? There's an introduction by the salesperson to the after sales department. And I've seen that done brilliantly to not only make friends, but also position upsells. When it's done badly, it's solely left to the after sales department to maintain that relationship. And then the salesperson crawls from underneath a rock every 2 or 3 years to sell something. And I don't mean to offend, I was a car salesperson back in the day, but I think we've got to put some cookies in the goodwill jar before we take some out. Wouldn't you agree? So I think that maintaining the relationship digitally and physically should be a joint one. I don't know what your view is, Chris.
I think you're right. Whilst everybody's seeing a lot of things done online, we're all sat here now virtually having meetings. I don't think it's going to be a total shift. I think there's going to be a blend. People, anything to do with customer service and customer experience is all about their own preference. And I think they've got to be really clear. We've got to be really clear on what their preference is. Some people want touch, feel, face to face. Some people want really gentle. Other people probably need to be held by the hand a little bit more because they don't know what they don't know. And I think, as long as we do it in the way whereby, as you say, we've got to earn that right, and we've got to make people feel valued, and that's just genuinely the way to do it. They will come back for more if they feel like they come away from a dealership, whether it be online or offline, with an experience that's personalised. And I think you're on a good win. Not everybody just wants to do it for price. It is about experience, and I think we're seeing that more and more. A lot more difficult online, but I think we're getting better at it.
Yeah,
Tom, for the person that posed that question, my presentation to camera was all about the difference between knowing and doing. I'm sure the retailer that sold me a 70 plate car a couple of months ago would be mortified if they realised that the salesperson has never contacted me to see whether I'm happy with the car in about 6 weeks, but the service department has contacted me to sell me a service plan, and it's a sort of thumbs up to the service department, but just make friends with me before you try and sell me something. And we've got COVID going on, but that doesn't mean the telephone and the internet has failed. So there's a difference between knowing and doing, and we've got to know what our colleagues are actually doing. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely, yeah. I guess as you're rightly saying, and as this person pointed out, the after sales department shouldn't be alone in forging those relationships, should it? The deal isn't done when the car's sold and drives out the dealership.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Well, we'll move on to the next question because I'm conscious we've got quite a few coming through actually. Someone notes that one of the big topics I'm sure that'll be discussed over the next couple of days is the rise in EV ownership, and they sort of note that while the hype is big, the growth is considerable, still only a small percentage of motorists are turning up in dealerships in EVs. And they ask, do dealers really need to focus so much time and energy on this area when the vast majority of after sales work will be conducted on IC vehicles for a good few years to come? What's your point of view on that, Carl?
I think there's two answers to that question. One's a yes and one's a no. Yes, with regards to upskilling the workshop, there's no point delaying that because just about every brand has some form of hybrid or electric offering. So we need a skilled workshop. So we've got to crack on with that. And yes, with regards to salespeople, all advisors, being able to talk fluently about the different forms of propulsion, plug-in hybrid, self-charge hybrid, PHEV, and so on and so forth. So, and that isn't the case. Particularly, there's some very woolly understanding and descriptions around the different propulsion methods. And in our experience of being a professional services provider, training and developing people, is we've identified that if you're not confident about something, you're never going to talk about it. So you've got to get people confident first and then competent. So that's the first thing. Yes, we've got to crack on with that. But the second thing is I haven't checked recently, there's about 34 million cars registered and taxed on the roads right now. Even if we get back to selling a couple of million cars a year, by the turn of this century, there'll still be about half of the cars that are on the roads will be internal combustion engine cars. So it's not like that's going out of fashion overnight. So does that answer the question? Both yes and no.
Absolutely, yeah. I think so. There's I think quite a few people will be reassured by the stats really that ICE's here to stay for a while at least. I guess one of the questions here touches on the previous point really about after sales and sales department, their ability to more effectively integrate their approach to provide customers with a consistent and coherent message. And I guess that is communication between departments. Is it, Carl? Essentially, that's the issue here, the nub of the issue, and the reason why you didn't get your call having bought a new vehicle recently.
Yeah, I think if we go up a level, I think we've got a bigger opportunity if we present it positively. We've got an opportunity to value data much more highly than we do. So we've been forced, as business people, to respect data from a compliance point of view. But I don't think we were having a chat with Chris before about valuing the opportunities that his product provides, massive profit opportunities. But we don't value data as an industry anywhere near as well as we should. That's not everybody. Our company's worked with some organisations 3 or 4 years ago that got really serious about valuing data. So if we value it, we're going to manage it properly. We're going to have the right level of resource there, and that's not just human resource. The caliber of somebody to strategise how we're going to take it forward. But that's the right back office devices to actually help us work smart. No names will be named, but I was talking to a top 10 motor group, very top 10 motor group, very senior person. And when I asked him the killer question around data at the back end of last week, he said, we don't value data well enough, highly enough, actually, was what he said. Well, that is ridiculous. Companies change hands for the value of their data. And, here's another example. I got rid of a Mercedes-Benz last year because I wasn't using it. Had several cars and that was just sitting there idle. Not as many cars as Chris McDonald, though, I might add. And even though I've told that retailer or its agent twice I've sold the car, I'm still getting mail. That's ridiculous. That's a complete waste of a retailer's resource. And they're paying for that resource. So we've got to value data more meaningful. A positive example of that was I treated Mrs. Davis to some very expensive Fairfax and Favour is the brand, Fairfax and Favour boots at Christmas. And just to give you the magnitude of these boots, and I'm from the north of England, they were nearly 400 quid. Now, I hope any of my friends in the motor industry don't text her and say, Carl's just bubbled your Christmas present. But at the end of the day, when she bought those boots, she became almost like a member of the family. And an individual reached out to her on social media. Hi, Helen, I'm whatever my name is. I just want to say thank you so much for buying the boots, blah, blah, blah. She feels like she's in a club now. And that's a great start to that relationship and data management. So we've got a massive opportunity. Some of it is coaching, some of it is control, some of it is strategy. But the start point is just look at your co-directors and say, do we really value data seriously?
I've got a question here, which I think, I'm quite sure that Chris will be able to chip in as well. We've only got maximum 2 minutes to answer this, I'm afraid. So do try and be brief. I've got a question. Clue might be in the question where this person's from. At Jaguar Land Rover Derby, we're relentless in our pursuit of delivering a great customer experience. Very good. Is it deluded to think that even with COVID-19, we can still deliver a customer-centric experience?
Absolutely not. You could be customer-centric whether you've got a face mask on, a visor on, but you'll never be customer-centric if you don't get people. If you're not into people, if you haven't got the will, there's no point trying to give somebody the skill. So keep on keeping on. That would be my advice to Marcus.
Great stuff. Have you got something to add as well, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, going back to the point about personalisation, I think, data, you mentioned that's my historic background, it's about using the information that data gives you, and that personalisation is really important. There's absolutely no point in talking to a guy that's bought a 5-year-old Land Rover that's going to use it for the field to talk to him about ceramic coating, but conversely, the dude that's just bought an SVO Range Rover probably is going to be interested. So I think it's about understanding your customers and making them feel special. Exactly. Because they're still spending, whether it's 10 grand or 100 grand, to them it's a lot of money. And I think they expect the best, but they want it personalised. And I certainly do. And I don't think I'm unusual. I think everybody feels the same.
Great stuff. Lovely. Well, guys, I'm afraid we've run out of time. We could have had a much longer conversation. Lots of questions still coming in. And sorry to those who feel that we haven't been able to address theirs. But thanks for your time. Don't forget to pop in and visit G-Technic's stand if you have the opportunity in our exhibition halls, and keep your eye on the chat room so that you can engage in conversation with not just myself and these guys, but everyone who's attending AM Live Virtual over the course of this 2-day event. Thanks for your time.
If I may say, Tom, if there's any questions that your team can forward to me, I'd be delighted to try and answer them.
Great stuff. Carl will be there, and so will Chris, waiting for your questions.
Yeah,
thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, guys.